Something about this trailer feels different, darker, heavier. Like the Dutton legacy is about to face its most brutal chapter yet. And if you thought Yellowstone had already shown you everything, 1969 is here to prove you wrong. Because the very first glimpse of Yellowstone 1969 Episode 1 doesn't just tease a story, it drops you straight into a storm that's been building for decades. A storm shaped by loss, power, and the kind of family secrets that don't stay buried forever. And at the center of it all is a version of the Dutton family we've never truly seen before. Now, let's break down what makes this trailer so incredibly powerful. The moment the trailer begins, there's this quiet tension in the air. No loud explosions, no fast cuts, just a slow, heavy build-up that immediately tells you this story is going to be deeply emotional. We are no longer in the wild survival days of 1923, and we are not yet in the modern chaos of Yellowstone. This is the middle ground, where everything starts to change. The ranch is no longer just about survival. It's about control, legacy, and who truly deserves to carry the Dutton name forward. And right away, we feel the presence of Spencer Dutton. Not as the fearless young man we once knew, but as someone older, quieter, and clearly carrying the weight of a lifetime of decisions. There's something in his eyes, regret, maybe, or unfinished business. The trailer hints that at the same time, the trailer begins to shift focus toward the next generation. John Dutton II is no longer a child. He's grown into a man who is now deeply involved in the future of the ranch. But what makes this so interesting is the tension between him and Spencer. There's respect there, yes, but also distance. The kind of distance that only comes from years of unspoken truths. You get the sense that John didn't just grow up under Spencer's guidance, he grew up questioning it. And then comes the real twist. The trailer strongly suggests that the Dutton family is not as united as we once believed. There are hints of another branch of the family, another child, another claim, another threat to the legacy. This isn't just about land anymore. It's about identity. Who is a true Dutton? Who has the right to fight for the ranch? And more importantly, who is willing to destroy their own bloodline to protect it? What makes this trailer stand out is how it builds suspense without revealing too much. Every line, every expression, every small moment feels like a clue. You start to piece things together, but never fully. And that's what keeps you hooked. Because you know something big is coming, something that will change everything we thought we knew about the Dutton family. There's also a noticeable shift in tone. This isn't just a family drama anymore, it feels almost like a psychological battle. The characters are not just fighting external enemies, but their own past, their own guilt, and their own choices. And that makes everything feel more intense, more personal. By the end of the trailer, one thing becomes very clear, and honestly, if this is just episode 1, then we are not ready for what's coming next. Now here's where the trailer starts to get even more intense, because everything we saw in the beginning begins to connect in a much deeper and more dangerous way. As the tension builds, we start to understand that 1969 is not just about the past catching up, it's about the future being shaped in the most brutal way possible. The trailer slowly reveals that the Dutton Ranch is now under a different kind of pressure. It's no longer just rival families or harsh nature, it's something bigger. Expansion. Modernization. Outside forces that don't care about history, legacy, or bloodlines. And this is exactly where John Dutton II steps into the spotlight. From what we can feel in the trailer, John is trying to hold everything together. He's no longer the boy growing up in someone else's shadow, he's the one making decisions now. But the problem is, every decision comes with a cost. And the more he tries to protect the ranch, the more he starts to resemble something colder, something harder. You can almost see the early version of the man who will one day shape John Dutton III. At the same time, Spencer's presence becomes even more complicated. He's not just a guiding figure anymore. He feels like a man stuck between two worlds. A man who has lived too long with memories that won't let him rest. The trailer hints that Spencer knows something important about the family, about the land, maybe even about a mistake that could destroy everything. But instead of speaking openly, he holds it in. And that silence creates a gap between him and John that only keeps growing. And then, the conflict truly begins to take shape. There are clear signs in the trailer that the Duttons are not the only ones claiming power over the ranch. Another presence is rising, quiet at first, but impossible to ignore. Whether it's a rival heir, a forgotten connection, or someone who believes the land was never truly the Duttons to begin with, this new threat doesn't just challenge them physically, it challenges their entire identity. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Because this time, it's not just about defending the ranch. It's about proving they deserve it. The trailer also gives us small but powerful emotional glimpses that hit just as hard as the larger conflicts. There are moments that suggest loss, deep, personal loss. A sense that not everyone will make it through this story. And when you combine that with the already fragile relationships within the family, it creates an atmosphere where anything can happen at any moment. One of the most striking things here is how the story seems to balance past and present. Flashbacks are hinted at again, showing pieces of Spencer's life that we never saw before. These moments don't just add background, they add weight. They make every decision in 1969 feel heavier because now we understand what led to it. What was sacrificed? What was lost along the way? And just when you think you're starting to understand the direction of the story, and just when you think the trailer has shown you everything, it delivers its most powerful moments right at the end. Because this is where everything starts to feel inevitable. The final part of the trailer doesn't just raise the stakes, it makes it clear that something big is about to break. The slow tension we felt at the beginning is now completely gone, replaced by a sense of urgency that doesn't let you breathe. Every second feels important. Every look, every pause, every line feels like it's leading to a moment that will change the Dutton family forever. What stands out the most here is how the emotional weight finally catches up with the characters. Spencer, who has been holding everything inside for so long, now feels like he's reaching his limit. You can sense that whatever he's been hiding, whatever truth he has been carrying, it's getting harder to keep it buried. And when a character like Spencer starts to break, you know the impact is going to be massive. At the same time, John Dutton II is no longer hesitating. The trailer also hints at a major confrontation. Not just between the Duttons and their enemies, but within the family itself. There's a feeling that long-held tensions are finally going to explode. Words left unsaid for years, decisions that were avoided, all of it is coming to the surface. And when that happens, there's no going back. At the same time, the outside threat becomes even more real. The world around the Dutton Ranch is changing faster than ever. Progress is coming, whether they like it or not. And this time, the enemy isn't just a person, it's time itself. A new era that doesn't respect old rules, old power, or old names. And the question becomes, can the Duttons survive in a world that's no longer built for them? Or will 1969 be the moment where everything they built starts to fall apart? The final seconds of the trailer leave us with that exact feeling. No clear answers. No easy outcomes. Just a sense that something unforgettable is about to unfold. Something emotional, something brutal, and something that will redefine the entire Yellowstone timeline. And honestly, if episode 1 is already this intense, this layered, and this full of tension, then what comes next might be even bigger than anything we've seen before. Now it's your turn. Would you watch this version of Yellowstone 1969? And more importantly, do you think the Dutton legacy will survive what's coming? Let's meet in the comments. And here's the part that makes this trailer even more exciting: the release window and what it truly means for the future of the Yellowstone universe. Because even though there is no official confirmation yet, the way this trailer is presented makes one thing very clear: this project is not far away. You can feel the confidence behind it. The scale, the storytelling, the depth, it all points towards something that has been planned very carefully. This isn't just another spin-off being added to the list. This feels like a major piece of the puzzle, something that connects everything we've seen so far. From the tone of the trailer, it's obvious that the creators are aiming for something bigger and more emotional than ever before. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. The timeline of 1969 sits right at the center of the Dutton legacy. It's the bridge between the past and the present. The place where the old world starts to fade and the modern world begins to take over. That's why the release of this series matters so much. Because it's not just about telling a new story, it's about answering questions fans have had for years. Questions about how the Dutton family became so powerful and at the same time so broken. Questions about what really shaped the mindset of the generations that followed. And, most importantly, questions about the choices that changed everything. The trailer also gives us a strong hint that this might be a limited story. A one-season narrative that focuses on delivering a complete and impactful experience. And, honestly, that makes it even more exciting. Because instead of stretching the story, it looks like the creators want to tell it in the most intense and focused way possible. No distractions. No unnecessary extensions. Just pure, powerful storytelling from beginning to end. At the same time, there's a lot of anticipation around when we might actually see it release. Looking at the pattern of previous Yellowstone projects, it wouldn't be surprising if this series is being lined up for a late 2027 or 2028 release. This gives enough time for production, casting, and making sure everything meets the high expectations that fans already have. And speaking of expectations, this trailer has definitely raised them to a whole new level. Because now, fans are not just hoping for a good story, they're expecting something unforgettable. Something that will stand alongside 1883 and 1923 as one of the most powerful chapters in the entire franchise. And from what we've seen so far, it looks like 1969 has all the potential to do exactly that. There's also something very interesting about the way this project is being positioned. It doesn't rely on action alone. It doesn't try to impress with scale only. Instead, it focuses on emotion, character depth, and the kind of storytelling that stays with you even after it ends. And that's exactly what made the original Yellowstone so successful. The connection between generations is another key element that stands out. This series has the opportunity to show us how the decisions of one generation directly shape the next. How Spencer's past influences John Dutton II, and how those choices eventually lead to the man we know as John Dutton III. It's like watching a chain reaction unfold, one moment at a time. And that's what makes this so powerful. Because by the time you finish watching 1969, you won't just understand the Dutton family better. You'll feel their story. So now the real question is, are we ready for it? Are we ready to see the truth behind the legacy, the sacrifices, and the mistakes that built one of the most iconic families on television? Because if this trailer is anything to go by, Yellowstone 1969 Episode 1 is not just going to be good. It's going to be unforgettable. And if there's one thing this trailer quietly confirms, it's that Yellowstone 1969 might be the most emotional chapter of the entire saga. Because beyond the power struggles, beyond the land, beyond the legacy, this story feels deeply personal. The trailer keeps bringing us back to one core idea again and again. What does it really cost to protect something for generations? And is that cost even worth it in the end? As everything unfolds, you start to notice that every character is carrying something heavy. Not just responsibility, but regret. The kind of regret that doesn't fade with time. Spencer carries it in silence. John Dutton II carries it in his decisions. And even the younger generation, who should be looking forward to the future, seems trapped in a cycle they didn't choose. And that's where the story becomes truly powerful. Because this is no longer just about what happens next. It's about what should have happened differently. The trailer hints at moments where characters are forced to look back, to question their past, to wonder if the choices they made were right or if they simply did what they had to do. And in those moments, you can feel the emotional weight more than ever. This isn't just a fight for land anymore, it's a fight for meaning. At the same time, the relationships between characters become even more fragile. Trust starts to break. Loyalties are tested. And the line between right and wrong becomes harder to see. One decision can change everything. One mistake can destroy years of sacrifice. And the most painful part is, they all know it. There's also a growing sense that time is running out. Not just for the ranch, but for the people themselves. Spencer's journey, in particular, feels like it's reaching its final chapter. The trailer gives off a strong feeling that his story is coming full circle. That everything he has done, everything he has lost, is leading to one final moment. A moment where he has to face the truth. Not just about his family, but about himself. And when that moment comes, it's going to be unforgettable. John Dutton II, on the other hand, feels like he's standing at the beginning of something much darker. The weight of leadership is starting to shape him in ways he might not even realize yet. And as he steps deeper into that role, the question becomes more serious than ever. Is he protecting the legacy? Or is he becoming a prisoner of it? The trailer doesn't answer that question, but it makes sure you keep thinking about it. And that's exactly what makes this so engaging. Because it doesn't just show you a story. It pulls you into it. By the end, you're not just watching the Duttons, you're feeling their struggles, their doubts, their fears. You start to understand why they make the choices they do, even when those choices are hard to accept. And that emotional connection is what will keep audiences hooked from the very first episode. So when episode 1 finally arrives, it won't just be another beginning. It will feel like the moment everything truly starts to make sense. And maybe the moment everything starts to fall apart at the same time. Now imagine this, if the trailer alone can create this much tension, this much emotion, and this many questions, then what is the full episode going to do? Because one thing is certain. Yellowstone 1969 is not here to play it safe. It's here to leave a mark.